please talk about UFC 252 that just got wrapped up at the weekend. Obviously, it was a huge fight. Biggest fight in heavyweight history. I mean, you know, that was the billing. It lived up to it. Stipe Miocic against Daniel Cormier. It was, all in all, a very fun night of fights. So, I'll start off the recap with a quick honourable mention to Marab Dvalishvili. I always butcher the pronunciation of that, but that guy's good, man. I actually wrote an article for the Sports Dispatch, shout out Sports Dispatch guys, for a couple of months ago, talking about how much I'm hyped for Dvalishvili. Now, I know he hasn't got the most exciting style, and it was another, as I kind of thought it would be, it was another pretty dominant decision win over Jon Johnson. Jon Johnson's a good fighter, man. He's legit. He's quick. He's a quick guy, you know. He was top of the heap at one time. So Dvalishvili, he's really impressive because he's a grinder. You know, he imposes his will. He's a grinder, and he did just that on Saturday night. Great stuff. So we've got to talk about Sugar Sean O'Malley against Cheeto Vera. Now, I obviously made the prediction that Cheeto Vera would get the finish. Got a tasty 5-1 on that action. You'll watch my previous video if you don't believe me, but yeah, either way, that was pretty good because it meant that I didn't lose any money at all over my weekend's betting. I think I ended up with like 20 quid profit that I put on a horrendous bet on Sebastian Vettel. Don't trust Sebastian Vettel to do anything. I even bet on Sebastian Vettel to be Vettel, and he still failed. But either way, I'm not going back into that because that's for my F1 wrap-up show. Either way, yeah, Cheeto Vera, I thought there was a good chance he got this finish because he's good. Like I said, he was being matched up with guys like your Song, your Dongs, you know, and it showed that that's why he's at that level. Now, I know what you're thinking. What, you crazy? It was a fluke because, you know, Sean O'Malley's leg, like, buckled. Like, he did something weird to his leg, like it was either a nerve thing or something like that. I haven't seen any news come out about that yet because I think they x-rayed it. The x-rays showed it was fine, so they need to do ultrasounds and things to see if he's done anything to the ligaments or done anything like to permanently damage it. Because I mean, it looked similar to Michael Chandler when he lost his title in that weird fight, where his leg almost just went dead, and just like he couldn't pick it up properly. It started rolling on his ankle and that, and it looked similar to that. However, you know, Sean O'Malley's kick game is really heavy, and you can't take anything away from Cheeto Vera, right? Because, and here's why, because people say, well, no, it's a fluke, he just like injured his leg. But that's not true, because Sean O'Malley's like kick game is he's really kick heavy, right? And like Cheeto was checking a lot of those kicks, and if you check one of those kicks properly, that can really hurt. Like, so if you throw a kick and someone knows how to check and they check it, that can really hurt, and that could have been easily what caused the problem with his leg. So it was something that Vera did, and then Vera went in there and obviously closed the show. Just went in there and finished him, because he is a finisher. And yeah, he looked really good, and I think that is a legit win because it's similar when Weidman was fighting Anderson Silva. People said that was a freak accident. It's like, well, yeah, it was in like one respect, but in another respect, it was just a bloody good check. I mean, he checked that leg kick. I mean, like it's good. It's just good defence from a leg kick, you know. So yeah, fair play to Cheeto Vera, man. The Cheeto show starts now, and his next fight's going to be really interesting because obviously he leapfrogs off the star power, the hype train that Sean O'Malley had. Because I said in the build-up to that fight, a hype train is a dangerous thing, especially when it comes to betting lines, because that's the only reason that I got 5-1 on a finish in that fight for Vera, because ordinarily that would never be 5-1. You get 2.5 tops. I bet the next time, another terrible bet is coming here. I wager that the next time Marlon Vera fights, the odds on him getting a finish will be somewhere around the late 2.5 to 2 to 3. 2.5 to 3 to 1. Those are the only odds that you'll get on that. So that was a bargain. And that was because of the hype train. The hype train pushed up the odds. Choo choo. Love that. But either way, sure, it's almost not even a bad loss for Sean O'Malley. right? Because Sean O'Malley, his hype train doesn't really stop. It just kind of it picks up a few passengers, you know, because he's still got his basically it slowed at a station, stopped, and picked up a few passengers. That's a great analogy, because there are a lot of people that are going to think that like Vera kind of got lucky there because it was a freak accident because he injured his leg. So they can always, like, you know, it's not even really a loss for Sean O'Malley. It's a best case scenario for both guys. Cheeto Vera gets a win, gets his stock raised, and he's going to go on and do great things. Sean O'Malley, as long as he hasn't done anything too horrific to that leg, he's going to be back in no time, and he's probably going to knock somebody out, and then everyone's going to be right back on the hype train, because a lot of people aren't going to consider that a legitimate loss, even though the record books will always show that as a stoppage loss. People will forget the circumstances soon enough. They always do, and what they'll see is the win and the loss. But in the short term, you know, Sean O'Malley's like credibility hasn't gone down at all in most people's eyes. So yeah, win-win situation, and for me as well, I won my bet. Woo! Doesn't happen often, but sometimes, you know, sometimes even idiots get lucky, don't they? But yeah, God, tell you what, Paddy is earning his money today because I had to write a lot of notes for this, just because otherwise I forget my train of thought. You know, I can't afford a producer, not a real one, because you know, I'm just an idiot doing a video. But either way, move on to Stipe versus DC. What a great fight! I mean, it was a fitting end to a brilliant trilogy. Both those guys like really went after it. I mean, I thought that one of the judges scoring at 49-46 was a bit harsh. But I gave Cormier at least 2 rounds. I thought, I mean, it wasn't like, it wasn't a bad decision or even a controversial decision, but I did think that when they started scoring it like so heavily, like in favour of Stipe, I was like, oh, okay, that's a little bit harsh. But Stipe won. You know, he just looked busy. It was just he was able to get him against the fence and able to impose his will more than DC was imposing like his will, and he did knock him down in I think it was the 3rd round, if I'm not mistaken. 3rd round, he ended up getting into the mount, and DC kind of barely escaped with his life. But there was also the controversy of that bloody eye poke, wasn't there? Now here's where I stand on this, right? The way I see it is that in fighting, shit happens. You know, I think you're gonna have to look pretty far back to see people that are being intentionally dirty. You'd have to go to some really fucking small backwater regional show to see somebody who's intentionally fouling people to get the win. You'd have to go back to the days of Dirty Bob Schreiber, you know, back in Pride. He was a real person, by the way. I think he was friends with Bas Rutten. I believe he might have been a doorman like with Bas Rutten. I might be making that up. But I believe they might have, like, at some point worked the doors together and got into a few scraps, like, with people. But Dirty Bob Schreiber, I once saw him, like, commit 3 fouls in one go. Basically, it was back in Pride when he used to, where it was before they allowed kicks to a downed opponent, and also they didn't allow strikes to the back of the head. And literally, he had his opponent, like, kind of on his face, like, outside of the ropes. You weren't allowed to strike like between the ropes. Actually, no, you were. Either way, he's on his all fours there, and the bell clearly goes. And even though the bell's gone, Bob Schreiber throws an axe kick on the back of this dude's head whilst the round was over on a downed opponent. So he was hitting the back of the head, he was kicking a downed opponent, and it was after the round. Needless to say, it was a disqualification. I don't think we saw Bob Schreiber very much after that, other than probably beating up people in the streets. He was quite but that was way back in the day, though, is what I'm saying. You'd be hard pushed to see anybody committing fouls on purpose, but people get very upset about the eye pokes and the groin strikes and that kind of thing. But the way I see it is, you get 1 per fight. You know, the referee's going to let 1 go. I'm not saying that fighters ever, you know, consider this, but for me, as a layman, like, watching, I'm like, look, guys, you get 1 foul, you know, per fight. Use it. You know what I mean? But you might as well use it, because the thing is, you crack somebody in the balls, they never take the full recovery time. and you get a rest as well. It's a win-win. You know, somewhere around the second round, you're getting a little bit tired. Just knee him in the balls. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. You know, they're not going to take a point if it's the first one, and then hopefully they're still feeling it a little bit. You can, you know, get a few strikes and win yourself a fight. Now, obviously, fighters don't feel they don't think that way, or maybe they do. You know, they're only human. You know, maybe I'm not the first person to think like this. Maybe I'm not. Maybe there are guys that go to the octagon that think like that. You know, conspiracy theories. You know, yeah. Drop some names into the comments. Who do you think does illegal strikes on purpose? But either way, brings me to my next point, because DC was obviously accused of. I saw a lot of hate for DC in the build-up to the fight. Right, they were talking about how he eye-poked Stipe and everything like that. Now, and like I said, my stance on it is that shit happens. The gloves aren't great for, you know, stopping the eye pokes, and, you know, they're unfortunate, but it does happen. Now, the way I see it, like, so Stipe's win is not tainted, DC's win isn't tainted, but when I see people online, like, kind of saying those things, I feel like I say, well, where are you now? Because, like, your boy Stipe just did one of the worst eye pokes that I've ever seen. Now, like I said, my stance on it is that shit happens. It wasn't intentional, and you know, just shit happened. Get on with it. It doesn't taint anything. But all those people that were jumping on DC and talking about how he eye poked Stipe and that his win was tainted against Stipe, by your own definition, Stipe's win is now tainted, isn't it? But it's funny because I haven't seen anybody coming out and saying that. I haven't seen anybody that was like ragging on DC for the eye pokes, ragging on Stipe for the same thing, because Stipe's was far worse. That was one of the worst eye pokes I've ever seen. That was almost as bad as when Anthony Johnson got poked in the eye by, I can't remember what his name is, Kevin Brown, I think. But like, it was when Anthony Johnson was fighting at welterweight, and yeah, this dude nearly lost a finger in his eye. Like, it was up to the third knuckle. It was disgusting. Just if you type in like Anthony Johnson eye poke, it'll probably Kevin Brown. I'm going to be really interested to Google this after I've filmed this video. But either way, you know, Stipe did a fantastic job. He's widely regarded as the best in the world. He, you know, and rightfully so. He's defended it the most times. And I did find it weird that people like ESPN posted a thing saying that he's the first. Daniel Cormier. This is on another point actually, because Daniel Cormier retired and they were listing his accomplishments, and they said that Daniel Cormier was the first fighter to defend both the light heavyweight and heavyweight titles. Now, I don't think that's true, because in my mind, Randy Couture did that first. Did he not? Did he not beat Chuck Liddell to win the light heavyweight title? And they defended it against Tito Ortiz, and then he lost it to Chuck Liddell, I believe. And obviously at heavyweight, he won it off of Tim Sylvia, defended it against Gabriel Gonzaga, and then lost it to Brock Lesnar. So he had defences in both of those divisions. So I think that ESPN might have gotten that one, unless I'm missing something there. I know that those were the fights that happened. So I think that Randy Couture was the first one to do that. Not to take anything away from DC, but I'm just saying he wasn't the first. You know. But I don't think I'm wrong on that one. Again, I really should start Googling this stuff before I do these videos, because I end up going on these tangents. It's only in my mind that I think of these things, and my memory is probably completely fucking wrong. But either way, yeah, terrific fight. The best man won on the night. You know, DC's got nothing to be ashamed of. He's going to go down in history as one of the all-time greats. It was just a fun night of fights. You know, great time had by all. And right, so I'm going to finish just real quickly by going to a new section I'm going to call MMA News. So, first bit of MMA news. Paige Vanzant is heading over to BKFC. Now that is not an eating contest in a famous fast food chain. That is actually Bare Knuckle FC. Although I would watch Paige Vanzant in an eating contest involving Whoppers. I would watch the hell out of that. But no, it's not Not Burger King FC. This is Bare Knuckle FC. And, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't see that coming. I thought that there would be an OnlyFans before she'd go to Bare Knuckle. Do you know what I mean? But, fair play. I mean, the thing is, right, I'm a big fan of Paige Vanzant. I'm not a big fan of some of the things she was saying when she was like kind of complaining about the wages and things like that, because I do think that, well, it's, you know, okay, you can lower down in the divisions, you can make, you know, better money in a regular job. It's like, well, go get a regular job then. But like part of the allure is you get to be a star, you get to be a somebody. You know, and you wouldn't get that working at Starbucks. Go work 12-hour shifts at Starbucks if you're that bothered about it. Go do it. But you're not. So don't complain about the wages. At the end of the day, if you won enough fights, the wages will come. You know, the big paydays will come. But she's getting paid. It's a multi-million-dollar contract to go into bare knuckle boxing. Now, bare knuckle boxing is a bit brutal. Like, if I'm honest, I'm not sure if I completely want to see Paige Vanzant going into that, because, like, whether she likes it or not, a lot of her allure is that she's a pretty girl. You know what I mean? She's very, very pretty. She ain't going to stay pretty for long if she's bare knuckle boxing. And I just think that, you know, if she wins a few fights in bare knuckle boxing, I don't think any of that particularly furthers her name or furthers her career, right? Because it's going to be a giant who cares. Right? At least if she went to Bellator or even ONE FC. I know Bellator and ONE FC, the reason she hasn't gone to those places is more than likely because they're not paying multi-million dollars over a 4-fight contract, right? But I feel like if Paige Vanzant was to go in there and get a few wins, people would start going, oh, no, she's gone there, she's addressed their problems, and then go back into the UFC and get some of the bigger paydays. I feel like there's more longevity potential in, you know, mixed martial arts for her than in bare knuckle boxing. But what the fuck do I know? You know, because I just feel like, whilst most people are aware of bare knuckle boxing, and you'll catch it on YouTube if it's, if there's somebody you particularly like that's fighting, and you'll try and catch it on YouTube or whatever. But I don't know a single fight fan that's tuning in and buying bare knuckle boxing pay-per-views. I don't understand where they get their money from. It smacks of the old Affliction promotion Donald Trump was involved in, where they were paying fighters inordinate amounts of money, and surprise, surprise, they went bust. Do you know what I mean? Where are bare knuckle boxing getting their fucking money from? Because obviously Bellator, they're owned by Viacom, they're shitting money. But bare knuckle boxing, unless they're partnered with Burger King, no, there's a conspiracy. But no, I don't fully understand where they're getting their money from, and they're paying their fighters ridiculous amounts. That is not sustainable. I mean, fair play, Paige, get your money, get in there and get out. But I mean, I'd have preferred to see her go to another MMA organisation or an OnlyFans, either one. But yeah, no, fair play to her. You know, at the end of the day, I'm not going to lie to you and say that I'm going to buy a bare knuckle boxing pay-per-view because Paige Vanzant's in it. I'll watch it on YouTube, and I hope that she wins. I hope that she wins. I hope that she gets, if they have titles there, I hope that she gets whatever she needs. Because, you know, at the end of the day, she seems like a really nice girl. Like, that's what she seems like. At the end of it, like, as much, if you want to give her shit, whatever, but fair play, she's going out and doing what she loves, and she's successful at it. So fair play to her. You know, she's the one making the decision. She's obviously gone with the most money, and yeah, hopefully it goes well. And last bit of MMA news: Jon Jones, after throwing his toys out the pram along with his light heavyweight title, he has decided he's going up to heavyweight. It's just all, to be fair, nothing's been confirmed yet. It's all been in a series of cryptic bits and pieces on Instagram. And at first, it was him throwing his toys out the pram and saying, this is bullshit. I'm not doing this sport for this money anymore. I don't want this belt anymore. So here's the belt. I'm not playing anymore. And then, you know, like a day later, you get this cryptic Instagram thing saying, I just had a really positive talk with the UFC. The weight gain process starts now. So, the next question is surely going to be, who are they going to put him against at heavyweight? I did see Ben Askren tweeting something out, or like on Instagram or whatever. Like, Ben Askren should be a fucking matchmaker, because I looked at it and it's just like, you know what? Stipe versus Ngannou 2, that needs to happen. Jon Jones versus Derek Lewis. Boom. Put that on the same card. You have got yourself a hell of a pay-per-view there, my friend. You know? What you got there, my friend, is a fucking hell of a pay-per-view, you know? Yeah, no, I tell you what, could you imagine that? Jon Jones versus Derek Lewis at heavyweight, co-main event, main event, Stipe versus Ngannou 2. That'd be amazing. Because actually, speaking of Ngannou, just reminded me something that's actually been really, really bugging me. Now, Francis Ngannou, I'm a big fan of. Huge fan of Francis Ngannou. Because who wouldn't be? He's spectacular to watch. But enough with this whole uncrowned champ shit. You're not the uncrowned champ. You're not, right? You had a fight with the champion and got dominated, right? Since then, you haven't fought the champion. It's not like it's not like you got stripped. It's not like there was a dubious decision, right? You're not the uncrowned champ. I don't know if he controls his Instagram or what he's trying to do. I guess I'm talking about it, so it's done the job. But it really irritates me when I see this whole thing. Yeah, hashtag I'm the uncrowned champ. Well, in what respect? In what respect are you the uncrowned champ? Like I say, did you get stripped? No. Did you have a close disputed decision with the champion? No. You got beaten by the champion, soundly. Haven't beaten the champion since. You have looked good since, I'll give you that. But I still haven't seen an awful lot of evidence that he's addressed the issues that caused him to get beaten in the first fight against Stipe. You know, I haven't necessarily seen that. He's just been knocking people flat, which is great, but what happens if he doesn't knock them flat and he gets taken out of the first round and taken down? Because that was what happened. Like, we haven't seen him doing anything different to the build-up to the last fight. Nothing. Right? He goes in. Rosenstruck, the one against Rosenstruck, I'm not being funny, but if he did that against a wrestler, like, he's going to get thrown on the floor. I mean, but it's weird to say it because obviously he has fought Cain Velasquez, knocked him out. He knocked out Curtis Blades again. Both phenomenal wrestlers. So I'm thinking maybe he would have gone with a different tactic against Rosenstruck than he did. But when he went against Rosenstruck, he just went in windmilling. He literally just windmilled and then missed 5 punches. Like, missed 4 punches, connected with the 5th. Fair play. Spectacular knockout. But I didn't see a great amount of technique in there. Do you know what I mean? It was just raw power, which is great if he catches him early and puts him to sleep. I'm not saying he can't do that, because he obviously could. If he catches anyone, he's putting him to sleep, which is why I do want to see a rematch with Stipe Miocic, because, wow, I mean, like, Ngannou, maybe he has been working on the takedown defense, and maybe that's why he's becoming so aggressive again. He's finding his mojo a little bit more, because don't get me wrong, I want all of Francis Ngannou's mojo. Get all of it. Do you know what I mean? Because that guy, he's a monster. He is terrifying. And you want that as the champion. You want a champion you want a heavyweight champion who is in people's nightmares. You know, like Mike Tyson was. Mike Tyson was a nightmare. Like, Francis Ngannou, you want someone who's a nightmare. Now, Stipe Miocic, he's the baddest man on the planet right now. But he looks like a fucking IT guy. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's weird because the thing is, with Stipe, I think he's deceptively big because he's a large man. And obviously he's a fireman, so strong as fuck. And he's the undisputed, like, probably, you know, greatest heavyweight in the UFC's history. And he hits like a truck, and he's smart. He's a clever fighter as well. He's got good wrestling, excellent footwork, great cardio. And yeah, but is he scary? Not in the same way that Francis is scary. But the question is, can scary Francis beat the cerebral, you know, clever, like, technique and power of Stipe Miocic? That's the question. He couldn't last time. Last time he couldn't do it. He couldn't best Stipe. Stipe just did a fantastic job. And there's no reason that Stipe wouldn't do a fantastic job again. Because I haven't seen anything to contradict that. So, I mean, like I said, I do think that Francis would have his work cut out for him. So until they meet, and until Francis can beat the champion, he is the uncrowned nothing. I'm not even being disrespectful there, because I'm a huge Francis Ngannou fan. But you're not the uncrowned champ. You're not. And on that note, I'm going to stop ranting on, because obviously I've made my feelings very clear on that. Let me know in the comments what you think about the whole uncrowned championship. What you think about Paige Vanzant's crazy move to Burger King fighting championships, and what you thought about the fights of the weekend. And until next week, where we've got Frankie Edgar taking on Munoz, I think. Either way, that one, I think that Frankie Edgar's got a real chance, but I'll go into that in more detail at the weekend. The odds are really long on that one, and I think Edgar's got a chance for a variety of reasons. But until then, keep those odds long and those bets terrible, and I will see you next time.